of taking inspiration
of using ideas you found
and combining them together. Well, you get that's really bad.
the world's too small. If you take it from me,
I will have to go potty.
so don't take any info.
If you do, you will die.
So fellow quacks, so this is the final stretch of the Toyhouse saga, and in today's video we're going to be talking about inspiration, both with OC designs and art style. Now technically speaking, the art style is a little bit more broad in terms of like, this is something that's occurred outside of Toyhouse, but I do think there is a certain thing about the art style aspect that is somewhat Toyhouse exclusive, but I'll get into that in a bit. So when it comes to inspiration, a lot of people tend to get very defensive and aggressive about how they don't want people to take inspiration from their OCs. I'm getting flashbacks to the last video where the person was like, if you take inspiration from my designs, a puppy will die. Oh my gosh, that was insane. And that is the level of extremity that a lot of people have with their warnings, is that they get so hostile and so like aggressive about it that it honestly makes you really off-putting, and it kind of makes people want to do the opposite. Like, in my opinion, I'm not saying I agree with it, but like if you're the type of person that has like a really hostile warning about something, I feel like people are more likely to go against it, to mess with you rather than to respect it. People are more likely to respect you if you're calm about how you establish your boundaries, because if you're yelling at somebody to like leave you alone rather than just saying, hey, I don't, this makes me uncomfortable, I prefer if you stay away, that's like more reasonable, and it's still staying. But like, would you rather someone like yell at you to go away, or would you rather someone say, you're making me uncomfortable, please leave? One of them is obviously like the more reasonable option, and that's the problem, is that so many users do not want to be reasonable about it. They want to be yelling, they want to be threatening, and no, y'all are not threatening at all. Okay, you having everything in all caps and bold text is not scary. It's not. And also, I find it funny when people are like, if you take inspiration, I'm gonna like sue you or whatever. Oh yeah, good job trying to sue someone on fucking toyhouse.com. That's gonna be fun. They're definitely not gonna laugh at that. No one's gonna give a shit, okay? Just relax. But I will say, it is reasonable to worry about your OCs getting stolen, because theft is a real issue, and I don't think it's wrong to be paranoid about that. But some people let their paranoia get to them, and that's where the hostility becomes a thing, and that's where people start to get really defensive. And also, that's when the random accusations start. That's when the people who see like a character that looks slightly similar, not like a ripoff, not like blatant copying, but like slightly similar, like they have a similar hair color, the color palette is similar, maybe it's like a similar concept. Suddenly, to them, it's stealing, because how dare they have that sort of character idea? Like, bro, you do not own any concept. No matter how unique it is, you don't own it, and just because someone has a similar OC to you does not mean they're stealing it from you. It is probably a coincidence.
There is no such thing as a coincidence.
Because the Toyhouse website is huge, so the chances of someone stealing like an idea from you is pretty low if you're like a relatively like under the radar person. But I mean, I guess there's also the fact that some people might take ideas from under the radar people because it's easier to get away with, because they're less unknown. But still, generally when people tend to like steal, they do tend to go for like the popular people, because since their designs are usually the most favorited and are always on the popular page, it makes sense that they're going to, take inspiration from what's mostly popular on the website. But anyway, when it comes to art, I will say again, it's one of those things where I don't think someone taking inspiration from art style is inherently bad, but there is a bit of nuance here, because I do follow some people on the website. I'm not gonna say who, because I don't want to like bring them into this video, but they're relatively popular, and I have noticed there are people who tend to like sort of, I don't want to say copy, but like they take a lot of inspiration from their OCs and their designs in a way to sell adopts, because those artists also sell adopts, and it's like very obvious that they're trying to kind of piggyback off of them because they're popular, and so they want that crumb of popularity. So by sort of imitating their style in a way to look close but not really like the same so that people buy from them is not the best thing in the world. I'm not gonna lie, it does weird me out a little bit to like sort of take heavy inspiration from someone's art style just to like profit off of it. I do think that's a problem, because one of the artists that I did follow made a bulletin being like, hey guys, please don't take heavy inspiration from my art style just to sell OCs because it makes me uncomfortable. And that's reasonable, because I do think that is kind of weird to like do that. It's clear that a lot of people just want to sell adopts, but it's hard to sell adopts on the website, and it makes sense that some people want to take shortcuts, or they just want to like, you know, piggyback off of somebody who's clearly doing a good job at selling stuff. So why not just go for what's popular and just, instead of trying to do something unique and different? Because apparently that's what makes the money, I suppose. And you know, I would say get that bag, but getting that bag seems to be kind of at the detriment of someone else's comfort, and that's not great. I know that sounds like somewhat contradictory to what I said earlier, but when it comes to art style, I do think that there is a little bit of nuance to it. So, how much inspiration is too much inspiration? What is the line that's drawn? Now, obviously, everyone's comfort levels are different, but in my opinion, when it comes to take inspiration from somebody in terms of like character design, I would say that if the OC looks like a knockoff version of that character, it's probably too similar. But if the character is like somewhat similar but not too similar, like it looks like it's a coincidence that they look similar, that's probably fine. I mean, I'm gonna put visuals on the screen to like hopefully illustrate like a good point of what I'm saying here, because everyone's OCs are inspired by something, and generally I think the best way to take inspiration from people's characters is to just Frankenstein the parts that you actually like, ignore the parts that you don't really care for, and then make something new, because that's basically what inspiration is. You're just Frankensteining things. Some people like to Frankenstein large portions of things from characters, and that's fine. You do have to be mindful when you're taking large portions of inspiration, because that's where things can get a little muddy, because you don't want to take too much inspiration to the point that it might seem like you're copying somebody. So that's where I would say, if you're taking inspiration from one person, find another artist or character that's like similar and try to like fuse something that you like about that character and make something else. You know, like keep Frankenstein things, because eventually you're going to come up with something that's really cool and interesting, rather than just from like one character in particular. But yeah, and when it comes to art style, I feel like that's a little bit more abstract, because art style inspiration, I feel like that's a bit more like, it's complicated, you know, because there's so many things that go into someone's art style and what inspires them. While I do think that being inspired by someone's art is fine, I do think there is a point where, yes, it can get into a territory of like, yeah, this art style looks a little too similar to this other artist, you might want to tone it down a little bit. I understand taking inspiration, but I wouldn't say it's theft, like art style theft, but it is like uncomfortably similar. Art style theft is like, it's one of those things where I don't really think it's a thing unless you're like blatantly copying. So the point is that don't blatantly copy people, is what I'm trying to get at here. Nothing's really truly unique at the end of the day. Everyone's inspired by something. So people who get up in arms about inspiration really need to look back and realize that no, you're really not as special as you think you are. Your OCs are not as unique as you think they are. They are inspired by something else, and someone else's OCs are inspired by something else, and they may be similar to yours. Like, no one's really like, I don't mean this like a mean way, but like, it's true that everyone is inspired by something. Instead of discouraging it, we should encourage it, because actually it's a good thing to be inspired by things, because inspiration, again, because you're Frankensteining it, it can create something new, and creating something new is good, because that means that it can inspire more people. Inspiration is a good thing at the end of the day. It's always good to be inspired by something. I am someone that is very open about what inspires me, because I don't mind being inspired by things and telling people what inspires me, because I think it's a great thing to tell people what they're inspired by. I don't see what the problem is. Well, it's okay to worry about your OCs getting stolen. I don't think it's necessarily a great way to go about telling people not to take inspiration in a way that's aggressive. If you don't like the idea of people taking inspiration from your OCs, then I would just recommend privating them, because it would save everyone the grief of having to have a aggressive warning in their face, being like, don't take inspiration or else whatever, you know? And I think that when it comes to art styles, taking inspiration is okay as long as you're not blatantly copying to the point where it's like, it looks a little too similar, you know? And I don't think that piggybacking off of people's art styles to get more sales in terms of commissions or adoptables is also good. So ultimately, just be mindful and don't be over the top about things. With that said, I'll see you quacks later.
I got arrested on Toyhouse.
I did a real bad thing.
I took info from someone. I know.
That's super taboo.
I thought it was okay.
It was not.
I got into
Those three magic words.
do not steal. So now I'm in jail.
Don't take insult.
Worst mistake of my life.